Hello, friend. Carm Capriotto here, and welcome to episode 499, Remarkable Results Radio. Boy, does it have a cool ring to it, 499. I had the distinct pleasure to interview Bill Long, President and CEO of MEMA, during Apex 19. In this interview, Bill gives you an important look into the size and the scope of our industry and how important your automotive career is to our economy. And among other important industry info we talk about, Bill shares his meeting with Vice President Mike Pence this past fall.
You know, in Carm, it's pretty complex. Your listeners are well attuned to this. They face this every day. It's not just about data ownership, and it's not just about control and access. We know that the technology today, OEMs are encrypting the software.
Welcome, Aftermarketers, to Remarkable Results Radio. Listen to learn just one thing from today's episode on your journey to remarkable results. Hello, friend. Carm Capriotto, the Automotive Aftermarket podcast guy. Always looking for and finding the best topics and interviews to keep you on the cutting edge of your industry. Hey, Remarkable Results Radio is so proud to partner with Napa Auto Care and the upcoming 2020 Napa Expo. I know final plans are coming together. They're working so hard to make this the best ever, and it's still not too late to join Napa in Las Vegas. April 6th through 9th, 2020. Discover the latest innovations in the auto care industry. I'll be there, studio, moderating a panel, so don't miss it. Enroll right now. Contact your Napa store for all the details. Hey, a big change in how you listen to these podcasts. You need to know that all three shows that we produce for you now have their own separate feed. Now, what does that mean? Well, you already have your subscription to Remarkable Results Radio, and now you need to add Town Hall Academy and For the Record and subscribe to them separately because they used to all just flow into Remarkable Results. Subscribe, mark them as favorites so you don't miss an episode. You can get more details on this big change and all the apps that we're on at remarkableresults.biz/app. Hey, so proud to have Bill Long, President and CEO of MEMA. MEMA is the Motor and Equipment Manufacturers Association, and they are celebrating, get this, their 115th anniversary. Now, that really does say something. MEMA is the trade association for motor vehicle and mobility suppliers and parts manufacturers and remanufacturers. Their members supply both the original equipment and aftermarket segments of the light vehicle, car and truck, and commercial vehicle on- and off-road industries. MEMA serves the industry as the voice of the motor vehicle and mobility supplier industry, speaking out on behalf of the largest manufacturing sector in the United States. Bill's been on the podcast previously, and I always enjoy his depth of knowledge and his wisdom. He is at the forefront of tariffs, supply, data ownership, and e-commerce, among others. Now, if you want to keep abreast of the depth and breadth of your industry, give this one a listen. Bill Long is your man. Apex 2019, Carm Capriotto back in the studio here at Level 2 with Bill Long, President, CEO, MEMA. And I have to tell you something. I've interviewed Bill in the past when you were with AASA and Bill Hanby were in the room and we broke the code on the shrimp size and all that. So, oh my God.
It was great.
It was really fun. We had a blast.
Yep.
And in the meantime, you took a step up to lead MEMA. Oh, what's MEMA? Because I know my listeners are going to say, another industry association, another acronym to learn.
MEMA stands for the Motor and Equipment Manufacturers Association. Mm-hmm. And Carm, we're celebrating our 115th anniversary this year.
115th?
115. So in 1904, 37 automotive parts manufacturers got together in New Jersey.
Of all places.
To create a trade association to help move the industry forward, share best practices, try to serve this budding automobile industry, 150 some odd, vehicle manufacturers, on and on.
Bill, I got to stop you. It sounds visionary. because the elements of our industry that we have today, the service professional, the jobber, the WD, they weren't around, or if they were, they were insignificant at that time. Yeah. So it started way the heck up here.
I started my career at a little company called Echlin, Echlin.
Ah, yes.
Started by the Echlin brothers, Jack Echlin and his brother in California, right around that time. They made a steerable headlight that sat on the radiator cap of, early production vehicles. And, at that time, it was pretty difficult for parts distribution to find a part to fix a car. It was very entrepreneurial. Guys that had some skills mechanical skills to fix cars and automobiles. Kind of sounds familiar throughout our history of 115 years. Yeah. But I remember Jack Echlin telling the story of how he jumped on trains, how he went door to door, how he took his products across the country, and that's how it grew. And over, I'd say, 95 years, all there was MEMA for suppliers, the trade association that represents suppliers. Mm-hmm. But we found that the needs diversified, that the markets were emerging in these different sectors. So we created 4 market-specific divisions underneath MEMA that you mentioned and maybe your listeners are more familiar with. And one is AASA, which is a division of MEMA. It's the Automotive Aftermarket Suppliers Association. Mm-hmm. We also represent the heavy-duty sector, so suppliers to the heavy-duty commercial group, the Heavy-Duty Manufacturers Association. Also MERA, which is the Motor and Equipment Remanufacturers Association. We've kind of rebranded that the Association for Sustainable Manufacturing, which is a big deal today.
Yeah, the word rebuild doesn't work anymore, does it?
Yeah, no, and it's and then also OESA, which is the Original Equipment Suppliers Association. So nowhere else, I think, in this industry can you get the view perspective that we have, which is a 360-degree view through all these different market segments on what's emerging in our industry: heavy-duty, light vehicle, original equipment, aftermarket, and so forth. So it's a great job. It's a lot of fun.
Bill, when your members come to you and you're having your meetings, your boards, and I don't think you're ever home, so you're out, you're in the field, and that's your job. What are the challenges that are going on in your sector?
There are numerous ones, and if you were to kind of package it up, I think the rate of accelerated change in our industry is creating a tremendous challenge. I don't think any CEO throughout our history has faced the speed of change that is coming to them, whether it's new business models, whether it's technology, whether it's the decisions that are made in Washington, D.C. that affect our business. The rate of change is on the minds of every one of our members. And I'll just add, Carm, that our industry, vehicle parts manufacturers, represent the largest sector of manufacturing jobs in the United States. So said differently, there isn't anything else made and manufactured in the United States that employs more people than we do, which gives us a pretty powerful voice. And as a result, we represent almost 2.6% of U.S. GDP. Yeah. The other looming thing on our minds certainly is the uncertainty of tariffs, trade policies, some good, some bad.
Bill, let me stop you there for a minute. Sure. And I want our listeners to realize what you just said about how many people this industry employs. And if you're a shop owner, if you're a technician, you've got to just appreciate what he just said. You're in an industry that contributes 2.6% to GDP, that hires the most people of any other industry. I mean, we do drive how many millions of miles a year, how many vehicles that are out there. I mean, we're in a vibrant industry, and sometimes we don't stop to think enough and appreciate how we fit in.
Yeah. A week ago yesterday, I was at the West Wing of the White House in the Roosevelt Room with a meeting with the vice president for 45 minutes.
I saw that picture. Wow.
In the conversation, we had a number of CEOs from companies that are products that are used by your listeners, brands. I won't mention them all, but certainly premier ones that they'd recognize. Mm-hmm. And our message was this, that even though there's a lot of good news in the economy, jobs are growing. The administration has added 6.7 million by their estimates. Lowest unemployment in 50 years. The economy is growing, but the uncertainty of tariffs, certainly in our industry, is a headwind, and as a result, it's delaying investments. The cost of motor vehicles and parts are creating pain for consumers.
So there's a lot of uncertainty. Are your members willing to wait this out? I mean, they may not have a choice, but do they think there's going to be good at the end of the tunnel?
I can't quote exactly what I heard last Monday, but your listeners should be encouraged.
Okay.
We left very hopeful. We think some of the Section 232 tariffs on autos and auto parts, deadline for that action by the president, I think, is November 13th.
And that's why we need organizations like you, because you were in the West Wing with the vice president speaking your piece.
And that's our role. We serve as the voice of the industry. And our mission, we wake up every day with the goal of advancing the business interests of our industry and helping to make it better. And we all know that some of the looming challenges we have are now around this area of vehicle data and vehicle data access and the ability to diagnose and repair vehicles. And, for us, it's even broader than that. We're fighting to make sure that motorists retain the right to choose where they want their vehicle repaired and the parts that they want to have it repaired with. In CARM, it's pretty complex. Your listeners are well attuned to this. They face this every day. It's not just about data ownership, and it's not just about control and access. We know that the technology today, OEMs are encrypting the software. The ability for suppliers to reverse engineer, make an aftermarket part, without the ability to recognize what those inputs and data streams are, is a headwind for us.
Is there going to be a hit the brick wall date down the road that we're going to be surprised about? Your members are telling the world we can't build this, and if we can't make it work, and more they see that. Tell me the behind-the-scenes concerns that we have.
I'll tell you the optimism first.
Okay.
77% of the value of a new car is generated by our members. So people might have the misconception that the OEMs are the ones that are creating all the technology and all the innovation, when in reality it's members like ours that are at the leading edge of ADAS and ACEs and things, whether it's autonomy or electrification or whatever.
And that's the OE Suppliers Association. That's that group, right?
It is.
Yeah.
But it's no surprise, we have members who are OE suppliers that are also supplying parts to the aftermarket.
Right.
So I would say virtually every OE supplier, Tier 1 supplier, is also participating in our aftermarket division or our heavy-duty division. We recognized 4 years ago that we needed to be at the leading edge of advanced technology, and that guys like me may not have the vocabulary, the skill set, even though at the time, back in the day, I was recognized as the industry's lead technical expert on OBD2, and I was the one doing testifying at Senate committee meetings and with CARB on OBD2. Fast forward now, we've hired a chief technology officer that is very engaged with SAE and ISO, who sits on the Auto ISAC, which is the group that was created to help break the cybersecurity codes so they could identify where the risks are and fix them. So we have a seat at that table. And our CTO, Brian Doherty, is got working groups with every one of our divisions and members who have their own technical experts and engineers, including repair professionals that sit on a lot of these advisory groups.
Right.
Names of people that your listeners would know, and technical trainers,
right.
and the rock star kind of people that are engaged in that. It's pretty robust. Look, for the past 115 years, we've figured out entrepreneurially not just how to build points and condensers, which is kind of the company that I came from at Echlin. That's what we did. To electronic ignition, to coil on plug, to on and on. We continue to show our engineering resilience to find a path. In the areas that are creating the headwinds, we're our relationships. We also have a seat at the table in Washington. And we work very closely with NHTSA, National Highway Safety Traffic Administration, clearly USTR, Ambassador Lighthizer on the trade. And so if you ever wonder what a trade association does, it's fighting for the industry's well-being.
Thank you for summing that up, and I have to say, I learned some stuff. I know our listeners learned some stuff. Hey, it's Carm here. Today, I have a special message for Napa Auto Care Centers who are looking to take the next step in growing their business and partnership. Now, if you're ready to strive and take it to the next level, Napa invites you to consider Gold Certification. Gold Certification is a premier tier of Napa Auto Care that recognizes repair shops with a higher level of participation in the Auto Care program. The program was built by Auto Care Centers for Auto Care Centers to provide a consistent consumer experience, maximize technology leverage, and reward Napa's most committed partners. When consumers visit a Gold Certified Auto Care Center, whether it's a small facility in a rural community or a multi-bay shop in a large metropolitan area, they can expect a first-class service repair experience. This includes a well-trained staff using today's technology and quality Napa parts in a comfortable, up-to-date facility. Customers at Gold-certified shops will also enjoy an extended parts and labor warranty, valuable saving opportunities, along with access to credit to pay for needed repairs, and a whole lot more. Here's what you need to qualify for the program. First, you need to be an active Auto Care partner for at least 12 months and have a steady business presence in your market for at least 2 years. Then, to become Gold Certified, it's necessary to meet specific requirements, chosen because they create the most consistent consumer experience and proven to generate the most significant results for Auto Care Centers across the country. Some of these include using digital vehicle inspection, having at least one AASA Master Certified Technician, a co-branded exterior, and offer consumer financing through Napa Easy Pay. You must also be an active member of a business development group. Once your shop achieves Gold Certification, you'll receive a number of benefits, including priority placement on Napa's shop locator pages, an allowance for marketing funds, 3636 peace of mind and local labor coverage, access to auto tech training, Napa Track's shop management system, Smart Sign digital menu board, and more. Talk with your servicing Napa store to find out everything you need to know about becoming a Gold Certified shop. Bill, e-commerce, is it a factor, the access of data and information to the ultimate consumer? Any of your members concerned about that?
There's two ways to look at it. The technology that's created in automobiles might make it easier to diagnose, because a vehicle might now be able to say, here's what's wrong with me, replace these components. And we've seen certainly YouTube videos that seem to make it easier for consumers and DIYers to repair vehicles. Certainly our point of view, although we embrace DIY, the vehicle is very sophisticated, and we need qualified repair professionals that can diagnose and deal with those maybe hidden or less understood issues. I was also in the air conditioning business, and I know the challenges of just trying to charge an air conditioning system when you're a do-it-yourselfer back in the day. I think the parts sales on e-commerce are going to continue to grow, and we've seen it's the fastest growing section of the industry through e-tailing. the data stream side and, what that looks like. I think, at the end we're going to win that battle. We'll have access to the data, if I understand your question correctly. And
you nailed it, and you actually added some more, and you went into the data, your car, your data, your choice. Are you actively working? Yes, you have to be, because AASA falls under you, and I know how actively both AutoCare, AASA, and you guys are all the members of MEMA really driving this hard?
They really are. We recognize that this is a must-win for the industry.
We're going to be okay. I think you alluded to that.
And I believe that. We're on the right side of this battle. And we believe in a free economy, an open economy, with
choice.
Choice.
Yeah.
Yes, all of MEMA and the organization is behind the initiative to win motorist freedom of choice. The majority of our OE Tier 1 supplier members are also participating in the automotive aftermarket.
Right.
And as valuable as the OE volume is, many companies, their brand is also equally important.
Right.
And without the ability to put their brands on OE parts, the aftermarket is vitally important
as
to their
an example,
company.
So that our listener understands, that there isn't one automobile manufacturer that has a belt plant that they own anywhere.
Yeah.
So they go to the industry, they find a belt manufacturer who will make it to their spec, and at that point that becomes an OES supplier, an original equipment supplier. Even though they have their own brand and they're a major aftermarket player.
Exactly.
I think that's important for people to know, that the OE suppliers are all behind us.
Yes.
Yes.
They clearly are, for all the right reasons. Freedom of choice is a basic driver of our beliefs and our system in the United States, and ultimately will prevail. I also had an interesting conversation with an OEM who I won't mention. Shared just an anecdote about what do you think the resale value of a new car would be if a consumer thought that they couldn't take it to an independent repair garage to have it repaired?
I don't think they'd sell them.
And they said, don't think for a minute that isn't lost on our thought process. If you put yourself in an OEM position, you put yourself in their shoes. They're carrying a lot of the liability for autonomous driving risks. They're carrying the liability for cybersecurity. They're carrying the liability for data privacy and all of those breaches. You can appreciate their concern for the motorist if this isn't done right. So we say, hey, we want access to data, and if I were them, that I would be concerned about that too.
So a seat at the table to help us register and vet and secure and register our aftermarket professionals. And what kind of credentials do they need? I mean, we've talked about this on the show a lot, and I don't think we can talk about it enough. I don't think we can bring up the topic, because every once in a while we need a smack upside the head and ground ourselves to remember that just because Bill Long here says, I think we're going to win this battle, doesn't mean that you shouldn't sign the petition.
Exactly. I'll roll back. Some of your listeners might remember this, but back when OBD2 came along, and we were all terrified by this little light on the dash, this check engine light that when it came on, it would send every motorist back to an OEM to have it repaired. And we came up at Echlin with a little campaign where we created a illuminated check engine light sign that went in the front windows of repair garages all over the country. And it simply said, ask us. And what that did is it created kind of a top-of-mind awareness that on your way home from work, you pull up to the same stoplight, you'd look over at that garage as you're heading home and repair facility, and there's this check engine light. Mm-hmm. So when yours comes on, it kind of, where did I see that light before? And you remember, oh yeah, it was at Carm's Auto Repair on corner Main, and the sign simply said, "Ask us." So it recreated the dialogue between motorists and repair facilities that were lost through gas-and-go motoring.
Just ask. And the other thing that you said, and let me put this in Carm speak, consumer education.
Yes.
And Bill, I have to tell you, we're talking about it a lot, and I think it's our responsibility in the aftermarket to explain to our customers how the ADAS systems work. My daughter just bought one, a brand new vehicle, and I said, honey, how much time did they spend with you on helping you understand all of these?
Yeah.
And she goes, it was all about the center stack.
Yeah.
Now, the light comes on if you swerve over in the lane, but there wasn't any further education as to why. These highly technical vehicles, we used to do women's clinics, and we used to have a lot of events at our shops. Mm-hmm. We need to start having your high-tech vehicle is not a foreign language with us, classes, and bring them in. So point well taken. If we're going to be a player, then let's prove to that what level we are.
Yeah, well, and just to build on that, the reason for the Check Engine Light campaign in repair facilities was to let the motoring public know that we're prepared.
Yeah.
We're qualified, we're prepared to work on these vehicles. So I think we have that same opportunity to maybe replay that event, and I can see a connected car sign or some kind of light, the connected car icon does the same kind of thing. It says, hey, we're prepared to work on your connected vehicle.
Yeah.
And then the question you raised is, so how do we prepare shops to handle data and privately and securely? And what's that? What firewall on my laptop that I'm using in the shop that I take home at night, and what is it that I don't know that I should know? You talked about training the motorists about these ADAS components. We've had that conversation with NHTSA, and they've raised the same question. How are we going to educate people on how to use these systems, and even driver's ed? Should there be a requirement on what these technologies are and how to drive with them?
I had Dirk Fuchs on from ZF a few weeks ago.
I know Dirk well.
And he told us about the European driver's test. And if you drive an ADAS-equipped car, you have to explain to the tester how it works and how to turn it on and off and why it works. And you talk about doing a whole lot of right stuff over there in Europe. Wow. Yeah, you're a great guy.
So it's fun. It's fun. All of it's fun.
It is. And, I was just thinking about, because, we know your car. You said we know your connected car. But how many people really know that their car is connected? And that's the gap we have here, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. We presented to a group of investors at a summit here the other day, and one of the things that we share is this slide that shows 47 new icons on the dash. Everything from what looks like a coffee cup icon that's the drowsiness alert. And all these are on vehicles now that people really were amazed at the level of technology or systems or things. And for us, we view those as opportunities for our industry in the aftermarket. The content on a vehicle is increasing. There are a lot more parts, and even if you talk about electrification, there's all kinds of cooling that these batteries and systems need. So content and technology is going to keep our industry thriving for quite some time, in our opinion.
What wakes you up at 2 o'clock in the morning?
It's usually not Red Bull anymore, but everybody at Apex, and you can feel the vibration, the excitement. Everybody is talking about the future. We're
anticipation, excitement.
Excitement.
Yeah.
We're moving forward, and you can feel it. You can see it. I wish every one of your listeners could be here to see all the new cool stuff.
I had a first-hand tour of the emerging technologies.
Impressive.
It's more than a booth. I was so impressed. 12 screens, 3 stations. It tells the story. It describes the challenges. It shows the opportunity. I was amazed by it. And is more important. The way it was presented showed the weight of the issue, not from your car, your data, but the weight of where the secure vehicle interfaces and where all this opportunity and ADAS calibration and those standards, it shows the weight of the responsibility that every listener who's listening to this has.
Yes.
We all have this responsibility.
Well said.
CEO, MEMA, Bill Long, thanks for being here.
Always a pleasure, Harm. Thank you. Thanks to your listeners.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time,